So please take your seats again. Thank you. So we can continue our little seminar on the Venice Architecture Biennale. And we can start exchanging thoughts from working groups. I could see the active thinking in the corridors, and we're excited to hear what came out of it. I understand 8 working groups, the initial 8 working groups, were shrunk down to 4, which is okay, because we are not that many here today. But we have to start from somewhere before the panel can start on these chairs in front of us. I think I will hand on the microphone to the head of the working group, and it would be wise to remind again what the topic, what the theme has been, because I cannot remember anymore. So maybe, Carl-Dag, you can start, and a short introduction what the topic was and what came out of it.
Thank you. As a moderator of the group, I suggested to briefly discuss resources. It came out really difficult to speak about resources, as all of us 4 actually wanted to speak about the qualities and the benefits of participating at the Biennale. But in terms of resources, I think the main message was that don't shake the boat. Let's continue as well as possible, and let's try to find additional funding, either from the public funds or sources or from the private sector. But and now we come to why, because the creative people who are involved in architecture and urban design, the majority in Estonia still consider it as an important platform for debate, an inspiring, let's say, a festival or a venue that brings together famous, not only intellectuals, but it brings together students, from students to specialists, so that they can see each other, talk to each other about topics that connect them. So it's a platform of inspiration, not only knowledge exchange, but a kind of space that brings together. It sounds so obvious, but somehow it feels very important. Sandra emphasized the student part, that it is a very inspiring place to go for the students, and during the recent years Estonian students have also been involved. They do their presentations there. It's not just about kind of cultural tourism. Venice still seems to be relevant, and it is worth every penny, is the main message of our group, I believe. Thank you. Does any member of the group want to add anything which I didn't mention? It's okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A big round of applause. Of course, it's worth every penny, but the elections are rolling on. Elections are not exactly 100 years away from this point, but who knows? The politicians may decide otherwise. They find some other fields that need support, so let's stay alert. Anyway, the second working group, please raise your hand, the leads of the working groups. It was you. Who else was there? It was you, and yes. Okay, now I get the picture. Karen, I will give you the microphone.
Okay, we didn't really have a proper working group. It was just a discussion between me and Johan. So this is what we think about the things. Just a casual conversation. And once in a while, it wasn't anymore about Venice, but then it came back to Venice again. We discussed about the maximum potential that Venice has for us, or the maximum idealistic goal that we could have in Venice. So if resources and anything else wouldn't be a problem at all, what do we actually want to do in Venice, or what would be the ideal Venice scenario? And as proper Estonians, we came out to be quite practical and not really take off in a completely unimagined words. But I think one of the most important outcomes of the conversation was that actually less investment, and that's like resource-wise, human resources-wise, time-wise, into the presence in Venice, and more investment into what happens before and afterwards. So this was our main outcome, that an ideal exhibition for the Venice Biennale would happen so that we have sufficient time for the pre-production, for working with a concept. We were discussing that in museum, in the architectural museum, we have sometimes 2 to 3 years for creating the concept and one exhibition. So if you have proper time for the pre-production, and then always the connections to the outcome to Estonia and to the architectural field, so that right now it feels that very often we are very much emphasizing the presence in Venice, but maybe we could put more attention to what happens before and what happens afterwards. So the clear and strong footprint also to Estonia with that exhibition. And of course, through that also the connections to the network, so that always you keep in mind what actually comes out of that opportunity in regards to the architectural networks. And when we discussed about the potential Estonian pavilion, we actually ended up thinking that a joint Baltic pavilion would also be nice, like the Nordic pavilion exists, and maybe with the size of our countries and the budgets, it wouldn't actually be that big of a loss to be out there once in 3 years, not or 3 biennials, not in everyone. So, but yeah, the overall idealistic scenario would be that we actually put a lot of emphasis also to the time before and after the biennial.
Perfect, thank you. And suitably enough, I forgot my glasses, I'm sorry, but how to measure the success of a participation? Was it your group? It was, yeah.
Thank you. They put the visitor on stage because it seems that I'm the most experienced with the Biennale productions from our group. And with Kristiina and Lovisa, they nicely translated the words for me, so it was how to measure success. Well, of course, there are the very obvious ways to measure. So the visitor numbers, we in the Finnish pavilion, we calculate the numbers. So our invigilators, who are Finnish students of architecture, they have a clicker. And if the numbers go up from one Biennale edition to the next one by 50,000, then it means that it must be a very successful exhibition. This happened for the 23 exhibition, for instance. Then the other one is the media hits, and the number of hits, but also then the quality of the hits and the quantity in the way that how big media outlets they have been. That's of course like a easy way to measure because they are numbers, but the quality is not so easy. And like as Kaisa mentioned earlier, that it's much more important to have these in-depth interviews than to appear on very many top lists, for instance. Yeah, so these are kind of the in our very lively discussion what we came up to write here, the measurements of success. Of course, then one thing that we didn't get into this yet, but I think that from like as an organizer of the exhibition, also the kind of the one of the measurements of success is the atmosphere in the working group and with the makers, and if they feel when the exhibition opens that there's just this very kind of a joyful and in a way no tensions in the group, then I think that's a success also. Then there were these questions about why the participation is important and what do we gain? Many things, of course. Connections, networks, collaborations, being part of the global discussion, because as mentioned, how else could we be part of the global discussion if we don't take part in it? One aspect that came to mind is also the kind of the for a country, the kind of the country brand, building up and promoting the country brand, and that's another reason why we use these Finnish students in the pavilion during the 6 months, because they are asked very many questions about Finland also, not only the exhibition or not only architecture, but also like the Finnish society and so on. So this is for a country, this is a very good way to promote. What else did we have here? Then the negative sides, like what do we lose by participating? Well, money maybe, and working hours, but other than that, we couldn't think of anything, so that's it.
Thank you. And last but not the least, I will hand on the microphone to your working group. Still work ongoing, work in progress.
Thank you. Yeah, too many interesting ideas. I'll keep a little bit of a cheat sheet because the ideas are still very fresh. But yeah, our group was tasked with the subject of how much we're actually willing to experiment with the format of organizing the Venice Biennale, what could go wrong, and what it actually means to fail at the Biennale. We did take some creative license with the curation of the discussion, so it went a little bit off track, but definitely interesting points arrived at anyway. We did all quite agree that it was very important to occasionally rock the boat, because there's often sort of structures that are baked into the organization of the Biennale that actually have a very outsized role in the sort of type of projects that end up being selected, and the sort of creative image that we also show of the nation, that in that sense it seemed very valuable to have the open call format that has also led to like some of the successes in previous Biennales, where we had a lot of young talent, and especially like professional talent that is, as we said, like mostly architectural practitioners rather than the sort of architectural curator, like specialized vision, that it's very sort of raw, interesting input from the field. But bearing that in mind, I think it's very important to make sure that we have these supporting structures around who are often first-time curators, that they might have a different skill set in figuring out a team structure from the sort of organizing institution side to help support this kind of framework for curators who aren't necessarily professional curators. That seemed very valuable. We also spoke briefly about the shuffling opportunities, or like reshuffling opportunities, especially in relation to the juries, because often the output is as good as the jury, or it's very much in the jury's image. And we spoke about some quite like rogue ideas about potentially having open calls for juries, or having alternative formats to also pick the juries, so that you'd end up with different types of projects potentially being selected. But in terms of key takeaways, we wrote down the idea of clarity of contracts and team structures, that's something very valuable to have up front, to know what sort of budget you're working with, what the sort of base contract is, what the sort of deliverables and timelines are, to have more clarity in what is inevitably going to be quite a chaotic process, just to help manage that a little bit. And also the idea of like cheat sheets or bastions of memory, to have these people either in a very like formal or informal way who help sort of carry on the previous experiences of the Biennales. We did see previously like other former curators of Estonian pavilions help install the next pavilions, to sort of find a way to carry that kind of expertise and also like network onwards. What else? Oh, but generally I think it was very widely agreed that the Biennale is an incredibly valuable kind of release valve for many particularly young architects who don't necessarily get to build the kind of work that they want to be doing just because of austerity or like different client profiles, or there not being that much of a need on the like very like conventional architecture market for those kinds of ideas, that the Biennale is an incredibly valuable opportunity to sort of showcase a different kind of work, and a work that you're very much interested in doing that isn't necessarily procured through normal, like ordinary channels. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.